Hey guys, it's BlastLad here, and I'm just here for my first kind of devlog type video. I've kind of really wanted to be started to do these for a while, so I decided I'd just jump right in and do one of my more recent projects that I've done, Appleseed, pictured here. So, basically what I wanted to talk about is how I did the multiple floors rendering in Appleseed. Basically, Appleseed is a top-down 2D game, as evidenced here, and during the very initial concept design for it, I wanted it to have multiple floors. You see it a lot in certain games. That's why I just kind of pulled up these images. The thing that immediately came to mind was like a Legend of Zelda: Link Between Worlds and a Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. You can really see it here. Basically, right now Link's like on the second floor, and then they do a nice little trick with the walls to make it look a lot steeper, and then that's floor 1 down there. It's super simple, it's really nothing too complicated, and then obviously here in Link Between Worlds, since it's 3D, it's a lot more prominent. You can literally see down like 2 or 3 floors, and you got the spring jump pads here that propel you up to greater floors. So like I said, it's not a revolutionary concept, and then you can see here going below, going above. It's like a bridge. But that being said, when I started like looking up, videos and tutorials on how I'd be able to create these multiple floors in Unity, there was really nothing there, which surprised me. It really did, because like I said, it's not a revolutionary concept, and the fact that I really couldn't find anything was a little concerning. But, obviously I'm not going to let that just stop me, so I kind of figured out my own way to do it. And that's what I'm here to talk about real quick, because I think it's pretty clever. So the problem was that I was having trouble differentiating the 2 floors between the two. And the main reason why this is because Appleseed has 2 different kinds of real interactions beside just moving between floors with the floors, and that is Elise's thorn. Whoops. A nice little rose projectile thorn that comes from her rose item, and then her ability to also throw Appleseed. Come on. Her teddy bear up to higher platforms. So those are really the 2 interactions. And it's nothing too crazy. Basically, the thorn travels in a straight line, whereas Appleseed is thrown in more of a curve. So that being said, if we kind of go back to this other picture, because it might be easier to explain, that would mean where that character from this game, Fararay, is below, she would be able to throw Appleseed up to that higher elevation, and if she fired a thorn, it would hit a wall. You can also just see that exactly the same thing here. I'm not a super great artist for this project, but it was a solo project, and I had a lot of fun with it. But basically, that means that if Elise was down here on the first floor, she would be able to throw Appleseed up to these second floors, and then she would also be able to launch her thorn projectile, but instead of it going up to the second floor, it would hit the wall and be destroyed. Whereas if she was on a higher elevation, such as floor 2, and she fired her thorn in this direction, it would shoot it, and it would go over floor 1 and also proceed further past floor 2 until it eventually hits that little chain link fence up there. Like I said, it's nothing really crazy, but I had to figure out a solution to do it, and I will just kind of show you what I did here. Going up to my incredible picture, like I said, thorn goes straight, Appleseed gets thrown up, and we have our lovely 2 here. So it's kind of it's not a super complicated process, but it has a few moving parts to it. First off, we will actually talk about the tile map itself. So the tile map is broken up into the different floors that they're supposed to represent. So if I disable the first floor here, everything that's on the first floor is destroyed. Whereas if I disable the second floor, the rest is really goes invisible. And on all of these, they have a tile map collider 2D. I did try it with a composite collider, but it didn't really work. For the tile map, it just didn't work. So that's why it's all singular tile map colliders. And then they have a script corresponding to their floor. First floor, second floor, and in the case of a third floor. We only have a max of 3 floors in this game. It theoretically could be expanded to be more, but I just decided to go with 3. So that's one of the biggest parts of it, but allow me to explain the actual thorn item itself. So the thorn has a special tag of thorn, and it's on layer thorn. It's its own game object, has its own layer and everything, because it's kind of a unique item. So if I edit the script here, I'll just kind of show what's going on behind the scenes. Basically what happens is the thorn starts out at floor 0. When it's instantiated by Elise, it starts out on floor 0. And then when it enters a collider, all those tile map colliders are triggers. When it enters a trigger, that's how it decides what floor it's on. So in start, each of those second floor and third floor scripts, they are an instance. So it generates the blockers and third floor blockers if there's an instance of the second and third floor. And so in this case of this scene over here, it wouldn't do that because there's no third floor. And then the number one thing that it does is that when it's on a floor 1, floor 2, or floor 3, every frame, it just kind of updates and it enables or disables these blockers that are going to be responsible for destroying the thorn. Basically, you can think about it as these walls here. If the thorn collides with that and it's on the first floor, it's going to destroy it. But if it's on top, it's going to go over. Because you got to remember, since this is 2D, this is basically a flat plane. It's a piece of paper. So you got to make sure you can simulate all the 3D parts of it in 2D, which is a little tough. So basically, let me just go over to second floor. Once again, we create the instance. It also has its floor integer. And what they all do is on trigger enter, if that thorn object that we were talking about, with the tag thorn enters it, if the current floor is 0, as it would be when it's instantiated, because it's only ever at 0 when it's instantiated, it then sets the floor based on the floor. Ta-da! And then that's kind of what controls what walls get put up and put down for the thorn projectile. And that's really about it. It's nothing super complicated. It's also not the prettiest thing in the world, obviously, but I think it's pretty clever. And obviously, all those thorn blockers, they're their own game objects. And what they actually are is they are quite literally just walls that go around the border of all this. Let me just edit the collider. There it is. Yeah, I don't know why I don't want it appearing, but they go around along the edges of all these walls, and they only really affect the thorn. So by enabling them or disabling them, we control whether or not it's gonna enter the trigger zone to be destroyed. Because when the thorn enters the trigger zone, it destroys itself on trigger enter. Second floor blockers. And then it also has some rendering aspects to it, just to change to like the sorting layer for how the sprites rendered, whether or not it's above ground or below ground. Because there are a few instances in the game where you want it to look as though it's going underneath something, or you want it to look as though it's going over something, specifically on the last boss stage. So that's another thing that it controls. But like I said, it really is nothing too special. If I just go in here, to kind of show off. I don't have my controller on me, so I'll just use the keyboard controls. And let's also just turn down that music. Just get through all this dialogue. So this is her actual Rose thing, so I'm just gonna fire it off here. I am using keyboard controls. I definitely would recommend if you download this game. I'll put the link in the description below to use a controller. This is just an alternate for people that don't have access to a controller. But as you can see, I am on the second floor, and we are firing it over everything. See, it's going over there. It's working exactly as it should. And if I go down to the first floor now, obviously it shouldn't. See, now it's colliding with these walls, and it's colliding over there. It's not going over anymore, which is the most important thing about it. And then, of course, Appleseed and Elise themselves, you don't want them to go through the walls. And then, let's see if I remember the controls. Aha! Now, Appleseed, if I were to throw him, he goes up on the floor. Basically how he works is basically the sprite that is thrown here is just very simple, super. I have not played this game on I'm terrible at my own games, people, please. But basically, what happens is, there we go. The throw sprite that you'll see right there, it just doesn't have a collide or anything like that, so it's super easy to just kind of have it go through. And that's really about it. You can obviously kind of do what I was doing. It's pretty simple. It's nothing too crazy. It really is just controlling when we put up walls and when we put down walls to control how that thorn should fly throughout the scene. How this can definitely be expanded to apply to more things, such as characters walking and even having extra floors and just how it interacts with the scene in general. But this is really all really needed for the extent of Appleseed. And yeah, that's really it. Thank you guys for joining me. And if you want to download Appleseed, I'll put the link to my itch in the description below. It would really help me out. Love to hear what you guys think about it, because I'm constantly trying to improve this stuff. And yeah, thanks for joining me. I'll see you guys later. Bye.